how are you all? So, this is something I never thought that we would talk about on this channel or that would gain any political attention at all. But we're going to talk about the Free Britney movement because there are new supporters of Free Britney in Congress, and that's Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan. So, we're going to get into this whole thing. This is a pretty interesting story. But the Free Britney movement, if you will, is a movement created by the fans of Britney Spears. Britney Spears, if you don't know who she is, and this is another reason why I wanted to talk about this. I sort of grew up when Britney was really big in her heyday. So I have a lot of memory of her. I was growing up around the time where she was having a lot of struggles in the media and around the time where this conservatorship was put into place. So Britney Spears, one of the biggest pop stars of my generation, around 2008 started having some family issues. She got a divorce. She was having custody battles with her children, was followed a lot by the paparazzi and the media, which they're not as crazy as they were back then, the paparazzi, but anytime she would leave her house, there would be about 50 people surrounding her. So during this time, she had a very public breakdown, a lot of people call it. But now, the interesting thing is, with a lot of new information coming out, the thing about Britney is she hasn't really been outspoken about what went on behind the scenes. We just saw what was happening through the public lens or the tabloid lens, which I don't think was really true as to what was going on behind closed doors. She had the famous head shaving incident, and a lot of people talk about that. But again, with all this kind of new information and people really wanting to know what's going on with this conservatorship, a lot of stories are coming out kind of behind the scenes, and it makes you think like, wow, I probably would have reacted the exact same way if I was going through all this stuff. Maybe worse. I don't know. We're all only human beings. So to know what was going on behind the scenes and what she was going through and dealing with, you kind of understand a lot of the behaviors, and it's pretty heartbreaking. But anyway, that's sort of what the Free Britney movement has been all about. And it was during this time where she was put on this conservatorship. She was going to rehab facilities, and she was admitted to Cedar-Sinai for a mental health evaluation and things like that. So around this time, her dad and a team of lawyers put her in a legal conservatorship, and that means that her dad and this team around her have say over everything. I believe she can't vote for herself, she can't get married, she can't drive a car. They have control over every aspect of her life. But that's basically been this conservatorship for a long time, and she's been in it for about 13 years now. And this happens all over, but the significant thing about her is she was the most powerful pop star in the world. She's young, she's not even 40 yet. She had this amazing career, was doing world tours, while at the same time not being able to have control of her own life. And a lot of people just have a lot of questions about this, and some of the questions come because there are a lot of people that are getting paid a lot of money while she's under this conservatorship. Recently, the Free Britney movement gained a big amount of traction because there was some court documents that came out in a court appearance that she did back in, was it August? Yep, back in August, that sort of gave you a glimpse into where her head was at, and we're going to get to that in a minute. And then there was the documentary called Framing Britney that I believe, was it by, I can't remember who it was by, but it came out. I watched it, I think, on Hulu. All this is going on, and yesterday I get on Instagram and see this by Representative Matt Gaetz out of DC, and this is what he posted on Instagram. He said, given the constitutional freedoms at stake and opaqueness of these arrangements, it is incumbent upon our committee to convene a hearing to examine whether Americans are trapped unjustly in conservatorships. And then it says down here in the description, if the conservatorship process can rip the agency from a woman who is in the prime of her life and one of the most powerful pop stars in the world, just imagine what it can do to people who are less powerful and have less of a voice. Hashtag Free Britney. So I'm also going to show you, this is just a short clip from TMZ. They caught up with him in DC. I didn't even know TMZ was in DC. They are everywhere. But they caught up with him on TMZ. I'll link to the full clip below. This is just like a little snippet of what he had to say in DC about the whole thing.
Britney was the most powerful, popular pop star in the world, and this conservatorship process abused her, has her where she can't vote, can't get married, can't work fairly. And if it can happen to Britney Spears, it can happen to anyone. So the power of Congress is not just to vote on stuff, it's our power to convene around serious issues. And this issue of conservatorship is critical to so many people across the country.
If you go and listen to the full clip, you'll see Matt Gaetz later saying that he actually wants Britney herself to come to Congress and to speak for herself without the conservators there, without their lawyers there and all of that stuff. And his hopes is that she will put a highlight on sort of a bigger issue that's about stripping someone's freedoms, not giving them correct due process and things like that. But before I talk too much, let's read the official letter. So this is a letter that Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz signed that they sent to Jerry Nadler to call on a hearing on this issue of conservatorships in the U.S. And this is some of what it says. So it says, the Honorable Gerald Nadler, Dear Chairman Nadler, the White House Committee on the Judiciary is charged with safeguarding the rights afforded to Americans by the U.S. Constitution. These rights include having the free will to guide one's own affairs and legal autonomy over one's finances. When situations suggest the unjust deprivation of those rights by the government, we have an obligation to conduct oversight and explore potential remedies. In recent years, there has been a growing public concern about the use of conservatorships to effectively deprive individuals of personal freedoms at the behest of others through the manipulation of the courts. A project funded by the U.S. Department of Justice to examine conservator exploitations found that financial exploitation by conservators often goes unchecked by the courts. And that's what's happening with Britney. So there's a lot of people, like I said, getting paid a lot of money while she's in her conservatorship. And a lot of these people, like these lawyers and other people, they're not going to be making money if she's not in this conservatorship. So anytime there is that much money being involved, it is worth an investigation or an audit to see if she needs to be in this. Where is this money going? Stuff like that. And she's not the only one. This happens a lot across the U.S. Let's see. I'm going to read you a part of the second part because this is where, okay, so the second part of the letter says this, and this is specifically about Britney. Since 2008, Miss Spears has been under a court-ordered conservatorship. The facts and circumstances giving rise to this arrangement remain in dispute, but involve questionable motives and legal tactics by her father and now conservator Jamie Spears. Okay, and this is where the movement took, I keep calling it what am I? But this is where things with the Free Britney movement, I guess that's what it is, took a big turn. In court appearances in August and November of 2020, Miss Spears' attorney represented to the courts that Miss Spears strongly opposed having her father as a conservator, that she was afraid of her father, and that she would not again perform publicly so long as this arrangement persisted. Despite these pleas, Mr. Spears remains a conservator of her estate. Despite Mr. Spears claiming to want nothing more than to see Miss Spears not need a conservatorship, his attorney admitted in a recent documentary, of the cases I have been involved in, I have not seen a conservatee who has successfully terminated a conservatorship. Miss Spears is not alone. There are countless other Americans unjustly stripped of their freedoms by others with little recourse. For example, Long Island resident Daniel Gross was forced against his will into a conservatorship after being hospitalized with cellulitis while visiting his daughter in Connecticut, and what the judge labeled as a terrible miscarriage of justice. Mr. Gross was locked in a Connecticut nursing home for 10 months despite his pleas for release. Given the constitutional freedoms at stake and opaqueness of these arrangements, okay, so he's basically calling on a hearing in Congress. And another reason I bring this up is this sort of had an interesting reaction with a lot of the Free Britney fans, because a lot of them they're very liberal, they don't like Trump, they don't like the Republicans, and they don't really have the best view of Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz. But now this is happening where they are behind this movement, and a lot of people are saying Matt Gaetz is, clout chasing, or he's just trying to do this for whatever reason. But the truth of the matter is, this is a problem. And I remember, when I was looking into this stuff with Britney, it was so fascinating to me also because how is this happening in the United States of America? Where someone, and again, there might be things that we don't understand and we don't know about, but the silence is odd. And especially when these documents coming out that clearly says she doesn't want to be in it and that she's afraid of her father, that's pretty concerning. And if she can go on world tours, she had a huge Vegas residency for several years where she performed several nights a week. It was a pretty grueling show. So she's able to do all of this, yet she can't even go get a drink if she wants to at Starbucks, or she can't drive her car. She doesn't have control over those just simple little things. And this woman is a very, very, very successful woman. Britney's father did come out and make a statement after this. So again, this is according to TMZ. This is just our source right now. TMZ, that's where we're at. But they're basically saying there's nothing going on here. The whole system is put in place to protect Britney. It's just a system of checks and balances, and Britney's legal team has been involved this entire time. There's nothing going on here. So that's basically what they're saying. And there says Jamie Spears has diligently and professionally carried out his duties as one of Britney's conservators, and his love for his daughter and dedication to protecting her is clearly apparent to the court. It says Matt and Jordan sent a letter to House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler, that's what we just went through, asking for a hearing to discuss conservatorships and guardianships, and using Britney's case as a prime example for this discussion. We got Gaetz out in DC Tuesday, who said his hope is for Britney to testify and share her story, telling us his concerns for her situation started after watching the Framing Britney Spears documentary. So that's what's going on with that now. And you can imagine all the Britney fans who have been a part of this movement. I think it's been a movement for several years now. They all don't know what to do with this, but they are getting on board and they are contacting Jerry Nadler to urge him to have this hearing. And I have a few tweets that I'm going to share with you. So this is Ben from Twitter, and there's a picture of one of the protests from one of the Free Britney protests. And he says, House Republicans Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz are joining the Free Britney movement, urging House Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler to hold a hearing on conservatorships. So then he gives a link to an article, and someone says, Republicans Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan try to free Britney Spears. Gaetz and Jordan wrote a letter this week to the House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler asking for this to be taken up. Wrap your heads around that. And here's another one. Pop Cult Media says, don't worry, Queen. They're going to get to work. We're calling Jerry Nadler all day tomorrow and the next day and the next. What? How, I don't know what the kids are saying, but it says holler. Oh, hell, or you're, what? Anyhow. But they're reacting to this Britney Spears account saying, go call the police. Go call the governor. Someone tell Congress to get to work, bitch. And those are the Britney fans. So they're on it. They are calling Congress. Maybe they're the secret to everything. Maybe we just go to the Britney fans whenever we need anything done. I just thought this story was pretty interesting. Anyway, that's everything I have. Let me know what you guys think about that, and I'll see you later. Bye.